Welcome back to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a really fascinating disconnect today. Something I know you've probably felt before. You know that massive gap between someone using aggressively positive words and their actual credibility? Like, why do some promises just feel totally empty while other people can command respect without saying a single word? Well, let's break it down.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever felt that sudden, weird wave of unease when someone looks you right in the eye and insists, hey, everything is fine, or just leave it to me? Your intuition just screams that something is off, right? The words are perfectly positive, but your brain is actively rejecting them. So why exactly does that happen?
Well, that uncomfortable feeling, it's what our source perfectly describes as the hollow echo of fake positivity. You see, that unease comes directly from the visible, palpable distance between those loud declarations and actual reality. When words don't spring from the depths of real, lived experience, sure, they travel to the listener's ear fast, but they ring entirely thin and fake. It's usually an attempt to smooth over a situation, but ironically, it achieves the exact opposite.
What's really interesting here is how this forced positivity actually destroys trust in stages. It doesn't happen all at once. First, someone tells you, I'm okay, but their actions, their posture, just don't match that grand claim. Second, because of that mismatch, these tiny mental question marks start popping up in your head. And when you ask them follow-up questions, they give you these vague, evasive answers. Finally, step 3 happens. Deep distrust takes root. Over time, these small misalignments compound into a massive wall of skepticism that is just incredibly hard to tear down.
That brings us to section 1. The trap of overtalking, and exactly why we feel the need to fill the silence.
You see, people who lack confidence often use words as a shield to cover up deep anxiety. They have this profound fear of sitting in silence because, well, silence forces you to face reality. So what do? They overtalk. They do it to compete, to show off, and to basically compensate for a total lack of real confidence. But here is the cruel irony. The more they talk without any substance to back it up, the more their facade crumbles, leaving them looking unstable and completely insincere to everyone around them.
And this brilliantly illustrates the stark contrast between two types of people. On one side, we have the insecure talker, who uses a barrage of words to cover anxiety and desperately tries to compete. They're trying to look bigger, but are actually destroying their own perceived value. On the other side, we have the achiever. This person speaks only from a solid, unshakable foundation of trial, error, and actual measurable results. I mean, the difference in how we perceive these two individuals is literally night and day.
Moving on to section 2. The weight of the true achiever and where real credibility actually lives.
Our source gives us this incredible quote: "Really heavy words only come from the mouths of those who have finished acting." Think about that for a second. A person's true credibility isn't born from their vocabulary, their charm, or how loud they can speak. It is born entirely out of the sheer volume of their silent, completed actions. The weight of their words is a direct reflection of the work they've already finished.
True achievers possess concrete details that are born exclusively from surviving actual failure. They have wisdom gained through grueling trial and error. Notice how the real weight comes from the gritty reality of action volume, not the lightweight status of a formal title. I mean, anyone can have a fancy title, right? But only an achiever has the gritty realizations that replace hollow theories. They know the reality of the work because they've actually lived it.
But wait, does this mean you have to be wildly successful before you can ever speak? Actually, scratch that, not at all. The text makes a crucial, beautiful exception here for the honest learner. If you haven't succeeded yet, but you are honestly and transparently sharing your incomplete, messy progress, you still possess incredible persuasive power. You aren't pretending to be at the finish line. That raw sincerity, sharing your real-time struggles, has its own powerful gravity that draws people in and builds immense trust.
This leads us right into section 3, how silence drives action, removing the escape route.
So here's how to actually apply this. Step 1. Stop announcing your plans. Just stop. Step 2. By keeping your mouth shut, you completely eliminate your verbal escape route. You can no longer get that quick, unearned hit of dopamine just by telling people what you intend to do, which naturally leads to step 3. You are forced to take actual action. Shutting your mouth traps you, but in the absolute best way possible. It leaves you with absolutely no choice but to do the hard work.
The benefits of holding your tongue are massive. First off, it protects you from that embarrassing gap between your promises and reality. Second, it conserves your precious energy for actually doing the work, rather than just talking about it. Third, and this is absolutely key if you're a beginner, it gives you the quiet time needed to observe true achievers and absorb their habits. By observing instead of broadcasting, you build profound depth long before you ever open your mouth to speak.
Okay, final section. Section 4, the endless journey of action and redefining the finish line.
Look, achievement isn't an end point. It is an endless process where reaching one goal quietly reveals the next. This is exactly why true achievers don't overtalk. They understand that there is no grand final finish line where they get to just sit back and brag forever. Reaching a milestone is really just a quiet realization that a new, harder challenge has just begun. They are simply too busy focusing on that next step to waste time boasting.
So the crucial point is, it really comes down to two very different paths. The talker relies heavily on past stories, seeks immediate validation, and their words constantly lose value over time. The doer, however, focuses entirely on present actions, trusts the quiet long-term process, and knows that actions compound into unbreakable trust. Tiny, unglamorous daily actions will always beat loud, empty words.
Which brings us to a final, really important question for you. Looking at your own daily habits today, will you choose to speak your value, or will you act on it? I want you to deeply ponder this as you go about your week. The world really doesn't need to hear another empty promise. Choose silent action over empty words, and let your results speak with a gravity that simply cannot be ignored. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.